Hey, thanks for tuning in, Busting Beaks and Chasing Tails. I'm your host, Todd Hogan. With me on the line tonight is team member Nick Scarpino. How you doing, Nick?
Good. About yourself?
Doing all right, man. Hey, we're kind of getting revved up for turkey season, but you and I have been talking about this one for a while, and this is the time to be getting into what we're going to talk about tonight. But just land management, what we can do in the off season, right?
Yeah, it seems like the past years haven't really done much, and it showed. I've always wanted to do more in the off season, and like we talked about last time we spoke, I did a bunch of logging this year. Had a company come in and log everything, and just have a completely different canvas now. And basically, it's blank. It's waiting for me to and whoever to kind of put into plan what I've always wanted to do. So I've really made it a point to just be active this off season. Just be active. So
let me ask you this. So not to cut you off, but when do they do the logging?
So they started logging in April, and they finished, I think it was the last week in August. So literally I had 2 weeks before season.
What did that do for your season this year? Did it hurt you, help you?
Oh, it hurt. Yeah, it hurt. And there's a few reasons why. I mean, obviously, so I have it's an 80 acre parcel. 40 of that is ag, 40 of that ours is wooded. And then they log the neighbors that connects to us, which is like, I think it was like 170 acres. So not only are they logging the sanctuary on my property, but they're logging the neighboring sanctuaries as well. Yeah. So it completely disrupted everything. That's number one. And number two, the food plots, the established food plots we had, heavy machinery just destroyed them, absolutely destroyed them. And not only did they destroy the food plots, which we knew that was going to happen, but not only did they destroy the food plots, but they destroyed the little cover that surrounded the food plots. So it was definitely a different season. I knew going into the season that it was going to be off. The activity was going to be skewed. The dedicated trails that we had in the past years were going to be non-existent, and it was basically just back to the drawing board, and it was. Luckily, like we talked every day that I was out, my main portion, but luckily I got to connect with a really nice buck.
That's what I was going to say. It wasn't that bad. You killed a dandy.
I did. He was a real nice buck, and while I did kill a nice buck, I was lucky enough to do that. I didn't see a ton. I saw some good bucks in the pre-rut, but just like everyone, if you paid attention, you'd see across the country this was just a weird year for people. And I personally thought that it was odd for me just because of the work that had been done on the property, but maybe there was something else to it. I don't know. But it was definitely an odd year. Like I said, I was just kind of playing the wind and checking my dedicated stands, my best stands from the past, and going off that.
So I know it was in November. What day in November was it that you killed that buck? Your
day, November 5th.
That's right. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. I remember it was a morning sit, and I had just a good buck had just busted me. He was a nice buck, and I text you, and you said, just be patient. November 5th has always been a great day for me. I have faith. And I'm like, man, this guy, he's just trying to hype me up. I appreciate it though. I appreciate the camaraderie, all that. I'll be damned. You're right.
Come back through that evening, right? Was that afternoon or evening?
Yeah.
I got a text from you about 4, so I was guessing it was probably about 3.
Yep. Yeah, it was that evening. I had 3 does come by. I had 3 does come by early, like 2:30 in the afternoon. And they're right behind me. When I say right behind me, I'm talking, they walked just behind me a matter of 20 yards, and they closed the distance, and were like, at one point they were 3 yards away from me. Well, they started perusing around, and sure enough, a hot buck came up and was sniffing at him and stopped 35 yards in front of me, and the rest is history.
Drilled him. He was a wide buck. What do you have any idea what the inside spread was?
No, I don't. But I asked the taxidermist to measure it for me. In fact, he's going to score it for me. So I'm very anxious to hear what he comes back with. Because you're right, he was nice and wide.
What are you thinking? You held him. I did.
Oh God.
140, 145.
Yeah. In fact, when we were down, when I dropped him off at the taxidermist, I asked Don. I said, "Listen," I said, "he's definitely Pope and Young, right?" He goes, "Absolutely."
Yeah.
He's like, "He's far better than Pope and Young." He's like, "Okay, well," he said, "he's going to score it, and then when I get back, I'll do the official scoring." Some people it doesn't matter, and it doesn't really matter to me, but
No.
it's kind of cool to have a record book buck,
Yeah.
Just
Well,
that
and
certificate.
he'll listen to this. I think he listens to all of them. So Don Nelson Taxidermy. What's going on, Don? He wants to know what his buck scores.
Right. Yeah, couldn't deal with a nicer guy. I mean,
No.
really, he's spectacular to deal with. So
BJ and I've hunted with him for years.
Anyone that's looking for a taxidermist, I've seen his work, and he's just a super nice guy.
If you look
Humble
at the
plug.
YouTube, there's two behind me.
Yep. Humble plug.
So that was November, and then late season you went up, and I don't even think you hunted, did you? You were just like when that snowstorm came through, weren't you just doing little bits of work?
Yeah. So one of the things that I was going to focus on, my number one goal this off season was to take care of the down treetops. Like I said, with the login, I mean, they don't take the treetops. So
no.
For anyone that's listening that thinks, hey, I'm going to log my place and get some money out of it, it's a great way to do that. It's a great way to improve your habitat, but just know that you're going to be left with a mess. And what that mess created for me was clogged up trails. There were a lot of travel corridors that they're completely blocked. They are. And my number one goal this off season is to clear them back up so the deer can utilize them again. So we did. We went up, and it was that first snow in January. Well, we're up in northern Missouri, and the 1.5 to 2 inches you guys got down here in St. Louis area, well, we got 7 inches. And you're not cutting in 7 inches. You're not. So what was nice is that we got hit hard on, I believe it was Friday with snow. And by Saturday, we could see Saturday afternoon, we could see some trails open up. So essentially what we did that weekend was we walked, and I had my phone with me the entire time. And, people go back and forth, whether you use OnX or Hunt Stand. I personally like Hunt Stand. And I marked every trail with my Hunt Stand app. So I could at least get an idea of, okay, now that the travel corridors have completely changed in my place, where do they use it now?
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of gave me an idea to do that.
Not only your place, but the neighbors as well, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it just gives me an idea of where to focus, where to focus now, where to start, and potentially where to set some stands up, because like I said, everything's changed.
So are there parts of the farm now, you hear guys log, they have their farms logged, and one of the farms I hunt, we had logged a few years ago, actually after a storm. And if you leave it be, some of it will grow up so thick that it could be awesome. It will be awesome. But are there parts that you're going to set aside for a sanctuary, and that's where I'm going to let them bed and just have their?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Essentially the middle part of my property. So I don't know. We're going to dedicate essentially half of it to just sanctuary. I'm not going to touch it. Never going to touch it. I'm going to hunt the outer edge, the front edge, and during rut, I'll probably sneak on the back edges. But the actual middle portion of it, I'm not touching. I'm just not touching. Because they have to have some place to feel safe. I mean, when these deer are constantly spooked, even if they see you, they're not going to run 100, 200 yards to a different spot. they're going to run a quarter mile,
Yeah.
you know, and in an instance of my 40 acres, they run a quarter mile, they're not going to be there. They're just not. So that's where, like you said, the dedicated sanctuary comes into play. That's where screen comes into play. You know, whether it be switchgrass, giant miscanthus, what have you, something to break up your profile. And not just break up your profile, but you got to worry about scent too, because they don't see you, they're going to smell you. So you have to create it. And it's one thing we didn't do in the past. But the past couple, 3 years, we've really tried to implement a dedicated sanctuary. And I firmly believe that it's helped the population on the farm, you know, because I would just go, or my father, whatever, we'd just go here, there, and everywhere, you know, and you'd sit there and rut, pre-rut, whatever. You wouldn't see a deer for the entire day. Well, it doesn't happen anymore. It just doesn't happen. So even when, you know, my property was destroyed, everything was flipped upside down, I saw plenty of deer. I just didn't see the bucks I wanted to see, you know? So I'm a firm believer that that's huge.
Let's dive into this real quick. So you said you had food plots. Are you've got them, because I think everybody knows that access is the best. You know, you've got to have access to where you're not exposed. Like you were saying, have you put thought into, I know you were talking about switchgrass or, you know, Egyptian weed or whatever you can put in. Have you put thoughts into what you're going to do there so that like you can slip in and out, and if the deer feed in there, you can get in and out without them knowing about it?
So I have, first and foremost, I'll be the first to say I'm a Don Higgins disciple, 100% through and through. I love his message, and I like his products. So, like I said, our main food plots, I don't know, half an acre, 3/4 of an acre, something like that. Well, it's located essentially right on the wood line. Well, with the heavy machinery that we had this year, what happened is the little screen I had, the little cover, it's gone. It's completely gone. So you can see into my main plot from the road.
Oh,
so what does that do? It scatters all the deer. So it's probably, I don't know, it's probably 30 yards wide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take giant miscanthus. It's already ordered. I'm going to plant it in the spring. Essentially, you have to drill it down. So I'm going to plant it in the spring. And from what I'm reading, by summer, by fall, it can be anywhere from 6 to 8 feet. Now it's going to grow upwards to 12 feet. Hold on. Sorry, my children just got home.
that's fine.
So it can grow upwards to like 12 feet, but that's what I'm going to start this year. There's also another plot on the far east side of the property, which I've had great success in as well. And it's the same thing. So my main goal is to screen those main 2 plots with miscanthus. Now, access, you see, totally rethinking access. Where I would normally come into the plot and skirt it, what happens is that our logging road, which has a ton of activity, ton of scrapes every year, it connects to that plot. Well, what happens is I've gotten busted numerous times. So now I'm completely rethinking my access, and I'm no longer going to take that logging road to any of my stands. Instead, I'm going to walk through the woods. There's ridges that connect to this logging road, and I'm going to take the downside of the ridge just so I can, you know, avoid as much detection as possible. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, just completely rethinking everything, and access is the main one, because, you know, I can't tell you how many deer I've kicked off coming into that plot and walking down the logging road, whether they see me on the actual logging road or, you know, the ridge connects and it's essentially flat ground for, I don't know, 200 yards. So as long as we're on that flat ground, I'm busted. I'm just absolutely busted. So
do you have multiple stands around that plot?
I do. There's a pond that's just off of the logging road, and I got a tripod on one side overlooking the downside of the ridge. I'm going to put a stand just south of the pond, and then I have a dedicated stand, my best stand that's on the logging road, which I killed my buck from last season.
So when you're putting those in, are you thinking, I'm generally thinking here in the Midwest, we usually end up with a west, southwest, south, or northwest wind. Rarely do we get an east wind with any kind of component. Is that something you're putting into it as well as far as your thought?
Not only am I thinking wind, but I'm thinking access. How am I going to approach the stand? Where am I going to come from? So yeah, you have to take your wind into consideration when you're thinking access, because
Blow them
wherever
out
you
before you
walk,
get there.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah.
Well, that's good. So are you going to put the, I don't remember what you called it, your screen in. Are you planting a spring plot? Or are you going to wait till late in the summer?
So I am. So, in fact, I'm going to focus on clover. And when we were up last month in January, we did some frost seeding. I've never done frost seeding. Read a lot about it. Thought, why not? The main plot we had was completely bare, so it was perfect for frost seeding. And there were a couple other areas that we designated that we knew were clear that we frost seeded as well. So I'm going to have clover in the spring and the summer, and then in the late summer I'm going to turn them over and I'm going to put in fall plots.
Okay.
So my way of thinking is okay. Well, I didn't have any plots this past fall. These does who have been on the property year after year after year, they're searching for something. I need something to bring them back. And regardless of the argument is for spring plots is, well, why worry about spring plots? There's green everywhere in the spring and summer. While that may be true, it's something to draw them to your property. They know while green may be everywhere, they know it's there. They know it's on your property. And that's my way of thinking with spring plots. It's just give them another option to keep them there so they don't have to go elsewhere looking for food.
And also, but clover would also be an awesome place to catch a gobbler this spring.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm interested to see the results of the frost seeding. Like I said, it's my first time. I know the pH is decent in my main plot, but I'm anxious to see the other two areas we frost seeded. But good thing with clover is, it'll pretty much grow anywhere.
Yep. And I think like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, you had about a foot of snow. That ought to drive that down in there.
Yep, exactly. And now with the temperatures we've had, it's melted the majority of the snow. So with this next front that's going to come through, it's just going to freeze the ground and allow that seed to drift down further in the ground. So yeah, I'm anxious to see if it works.
I think it will. It ought to be rocking this spring. And then when do you plan on? You said you were going to turn them over and put fall plots in.
I am. Yeah, I figure probably the first or second week in August, whenever we're going to get rain.
Yeah.
I got a couple plots that I haven't planted anything for spring in that I need to do some work on. And my goal is to have 4 fall plots this year, just on differing parts of the property. But and it's all based on where I think they're bedding, where I've seen their beds. So we'll see if the 4 plots work. 2 of them are brand new, so I'm not, I've already, when we were up in January, I dug down, and while it was stupid, I dug through the 7 inches of snow, the frozen ground, and got some soil. So I'm doing soil samples, and once the spring hits, I'll do whatever I need to do to get that soil up to par. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
Were those in timber before logging?
They were.
Oh, okay. So they created a couple plots for you too. Awesome.
Correct. Yep.
That's even better. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Good deal. Well, what do you, and we may have went over this, but what are you thinking to plant this fall?
So there is it's basically a mix of radishes and turnips. And then what I've done in the past, and I don't think I'm going to do anymore, I've planted buck oats in the past. And the issue with buck oats is that they come up incredibly quick. Where you get that first freeze and they're done.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to do ryegrass, winter wheat.
Winter rye is the way to go.
Yeah,
And here's the thing. Like today in Missouri, it got up to 60. Now it's been sitting under 6 inches of snow. But if you had 6 or 7 days like that, it'd start greening up and growing again.
Yeah, exactly. And
It's crazy.
it's gonna stay, well, it's not gonna stay green, but that's your only option to capture any type of green this time of year,
Yeah.
period. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do my larger dedicated plots in turnips and radishes. And then the newer plots I'm gonna do, like I said, I'm gonna try out the wheat and ryegrass because from what I've read, they'll tolerate a wider range pH than your radishes and turnips. So,
It-
and I
that
honestly,
stuff will
I
grow.
just want
That
to
stuff
see,
grows in the bed of your truck.
yeah,
I've seen it done.
yeah. I just
I'm a fan of
honestly,
that. I'm
I
not
just want to
trying to
see.
jump in on you, but
You're good. No,
that's I planted that this year, and we had a pretty warm fall, if you remember. And
oh yeah,
late October, I thought it almost needs brush hog. It was like I put it in late August, and it was like knee deep. I was like, oh crap.
that's incredible. Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, I'm interested to see how it does, and honestly, I'm interested to see, depending on the time of year, what their palate tells them. You know, what they're choosing, what's more palatable to the deer. So it'll be interesting. I'm gonna invest in some more cameras. I'm switching solely to cell cameras now, just because it creates less intrusion. You know, it gives me an idea of what's going on, and I don't have to go up there every couple of weeks and pour my scent all over the place.
And it's a 3-hour drive, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that helps.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
That
Um,
helps.
yeah. So we kind of touched on food plots and you know, the best part about I've always wished I had a place I could completely manage like that, because you always hear about these guys like late season's always done for me. My stuff's dead, or
Yeah.
I've got a small food plot, or you know, it's been hit hard. But like where you're talking, you've got a little bit of a sanctuary there. You and your dad and maybe a couple buddies are the only guys
Yeah.
hunting it. So there's not a whole lot of pressure, you know, and you don't get up there every weekend.
Right.
So I'm guessing, you know, late season could really be awesome. You hear about these guys, you know, one, standing beans, that's always the best. But
Mhm.
two, if you get some kind of a green food source late season, they're gonna hammer that.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so what's we've talked about is, like I said, we connect with 40 acres of ag. Well, 39 and a half acres of that ag field is one continuous field. Well, then there's an easement and it breaks off into a half-acre patch where they plant crops. So we've talked about just paying the local farmer to leave, basically not plant that half acre, planting beans, fencing it off just to open it up in late season. And I haven't contacted the local farmer yet just because of everything that's been going on. But that's something we want to check out, and that's something we want to eventually see happen, because you're right. You know, think of a property that has standing beans in December and also green winter rye. You know, I mean,
Yes.
the potential is incredible.
Yeah.
So that's something we have thought about. Like you said, the buddies I hunt with, you know, we kind of plan all this stuff together, and that's something we've broached numerous times. And I don't know if we're going to make it happen this year, but I'm at least going to talk to the farmer to see, you know, if not this year, what's it going to take next year for you to keep that unplanted so we could potentially do this. I mean, got to think it's not going to cost much. It's only half of an acre, maybe
Hey,
3/4.
pay market prices. I'll give you what you
Yeah,
get out of it. Here we go.
exactly.
Now,
Exactly. For
does he
that
rotate
little-
them every year?
He does.
Okay. So what's this year
Yeah.
coming up? What's that going to be? Do you have any idea?
This year is going to be beans, actually.
Beans.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It could happen. We'll
A
see.
late season slaughterhouse right there.
Yep. Right. Yeah. So it's definitely promising. I just got to put in the work to make it happen.
Now and I know where we're located here, because of CWD, we can't have mineral sites. But you're northern Missouri. Is that one of the counties that's closed, or can you still have mineral sites?
We can have mineral sites, and I actually have 2 dedicated mineral sites. One is better than the other. I mean, the one is, oh God, it's 6 foot by 6 foot.
Oh.
Easily. And it's they hammer it every year. Absolutely hammer it. And that's where I get most of my recon. That's where I get most of my pictures, just to kind of take inventory.
Sure.
But yeah, I'll start that in probably March, I only use trophy rocks. They're easy. They last a while. They're inexpensive. So like March, I'll go and buy 4 and I'll put 2 in each mineral site. And I tell you what, they'll last a month, and I'll go back and just replenish them. And I'll replenish them probably all the way through August, just so they can, have something. It's something through fawning season. Because, for those of you that do not know, mineral, that's their crutch come fawning season. That's what the moms focus on solely. So we just want to give them everything they can have.
Growing them big.
Yeah, exactly.
I had somebody at work, they asked me, they're like, why deer in my backyard? You'd love to shoot them. I got, I probably see 300 deer a year. I shoot 2 or 3. I love to watch them. I'm not just about killing them. So
yeah, and it's such a common misconception with hunters. It's, oh, you just want to go out and kill them. Like there's no other party that has more appreciation for the animal that we're seeking than a hunter.
No.
Period. I mean, there's with all the time and energy that we put into it. I mean, you have to garner respect for them. We wouldn't do what we do. We wouldn't put the time and focus on it if we just wanted to slaughter them.
That's right.
We wouldn't. We
Nope.
just wouldn't. It's something they don't get.
Do you, and I don't do this, I should, but I don't. Do you do any kind of predator hunting to, help your fawns?
Funny you mentioned that. I just bought my first AR, 4 weeks ago. Put it together, just got a scope on it for the sole purpose of predator hunting. I don't know what's changed. I can't tell you, but what I can tell you is that my place has been hammered with predators. There were points in December, January, that I was getting pictures of yotes every day.
Really?
And we're talking before then, last year even, it would be, you'd go a month span, I'd get 1 or 2 pictures of a coyote. And I don't know if it's the same pack. I don't know what the deal is, but it's increased dramatically. And I invested in some traps. Of course, I invested in the traps the last 2 weeks of the season, so I wasn't able to trap. But that's why I also invested in the ARs, because I have a problem. I have a big problem. So we're going up the first weekend in March, and I'm going to I bought an electronic collar. I'm pretty much dialed in with my gun. So we're going to spend a full day just coyote hunting. And then once trapping season opens back up next year, we're going to focus on coyotes, but we're also going to try and trap and kill every raccoon and possum that we possibly can, because, while coyotes are my main concern for obvious reasons, the fawn killers, the raccoons and the possum will decimate turkey populations.
Yes, raiders.
Yeah, exactly. And that's also is as much as Missouri has experienced. I'm in the same boat. My turkey population it's minimal. I've gotten in the past, since the first of the year, I've got 1 picture of turkeys, and there was 3, but again, only 1 picture. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. So, the whole point is to try and create, the whole point of logging the place was to create the best habitat possible. Well, that's only half of it. You got to take care of the predators, and that's something that I haven't done in the past, and it's clearly come to bite me in the ass.
Do you ever get any pictures of fox or
Oh yeah,
bobcat?
Yeah, I mean, both. Yeah,
Yep.
and now obviously they're not as prevalent, and I haven't got pictures as frequent as coyotes, but yes, I have got them.
Used to, I'd run across coyotes pretty regular, but growing up, I never saw bobcats ever. I'd say like the last 15 years, but I've probably seen 10 or 12. And I'm like, that's something I never saw. I mean, it was, matter of fact, the farm I hunt in Soto, the guy that lets me hunt there, he's like, we don't shoot bobcats. And I was like, I won't shoot any bobcats. Well, then, over the last few years, I've seen a few. I was like, they're here.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're beautiful creatures. They're
Well, they
absolutely
are.
beautiful. Yeah.
I saw one time in Illinois. I was watching him. He was sneaking down a field edge, and I could see him, and he was putting the stalk on a squirrel there in front of me. And I watched him cover about 75 yards in about a second and a half. And I was just like,
Yep.
and the squirrel jumped and he caught him out of midair. I was like, that's incredible. That's one of the
Yeah.
greatest things I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to stand up and cheer. I was like, dude, you
not
are.
only are they quick, but they're sneaky. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
just, oh God.
Oh, I
They
would have
are-
never saw him. I just happened to be looking down the field edge. And you know, when you just kind of stare in a spot to look for movement, and all of a sudden I saw it, and then it froze, and I was like, what did I see? And then I was
Yeah.
like, oh, it's a bobcat.
Yeah,
Big
they're
old
one of the
bobcat.
best stalking animals out there. They're
Yeah.
incredible.
Well,
And they'd also make a really cool mount.
yeah. My partner Brian, he had a family of them come through one time, and he goes, honest to God, he goes, I never heard them coming. There was a big female, and then she had 4 kittens, and he goes, they walked on every limb, and so that they weren't crunching leaves. I was like, really? He goes, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the funny part was, she saw him, the big female did, and she just sat there and hissed and whined at him while the other ones ran off. He goes, it was a little eerie.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm sure you've seen the videos where they especially the videos I've seen are turkey hunters, but they've attacked turkey hunters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
It's
that
a
makes the
cat,
buck
but
pucker
I'm
a
not
little
looking to
bit.
fight with one.
Exactly. Exactly.
So let's think. What else so you're going to put those clover patches in? Are you going
Yep.
to brush hog them this summer, or just let them go?
Oh no, I'm gonna cut them. Definitely. I mean, there's nothing worse for a clover plot than to plant it and let it go, because it's going to get choked out by weeds eventually. So yeah, I figure, especially now with the cabin up there, it's just going to allow me a reason to get up there more, and B, the opportunity to spend the night whenever I want. So
It's
yeah,
a cool cabin too.
Thank you. We got to get you back up there again. But my goal, I told my wife, my goal is I want to spend at least a weekend there every month. So if I stick to that, which I will, I mean, it's going to allow me so much more time to get the stuff done that I want to put into place. And never mind the fact that I still have to finish off the cabin, which is going to take forever. So yeah, it is what it is.
Do you have drywall hung yet?
The majority of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know when I left, you had insulation hung. I was like, I'd quit right there.
Yeah, we got the majority of the drywall up, so we'll get there. We'll get there.
We were there in early October, and it was, like I said, it was warm this fall. And you and one of your buddies worked on the air conditioning for like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a necessity. And then you fired up the air conditioner. I was like, good call on the air conditioner.
Yeah. You're talking about a bunch of guys that are bigger. We sweat easier. Yeah, that is a necessity.
Because it was about 85 in that cabin, and then you fired that thing up. I was like, oh, nice.
Yeah.
This is nice.
Life is good now.
Well, what did I miss? Did I miss anything that you're doing in this off season that I missed on?
Honestly, man, I'm just walking. I'm walking. I found that now is the time to figure out stand placement. I mean, you're walking through the woods and every leaf is gone. You can see forever. Especially now, especially with snow on the ground or snow coming, that's the time to get up there. I mean, that's the time to figure out not only the trails, but the main corridors. I mean, all of us have sat in the stand and seen deer in the distance like, God, I never knew they came from there.
Yeah.
Well, now's the time to go up and see exactly where they're coming from. Now's the time to find your beds. Now's the time to look for your buck beds. And what's that going to do? All that's going to do is give you ideas of where to put up the stands. You can go in there now. You can hang them. You don't have to worry about, oh, well, I'm going to trim this. It's a week before season. I'm going to have a million green leaves all over the place. It's going to distort my view. I mean, it's the perfect time to hang your stands right now. And it's the perfect time to figure out where they're at and where they're going.
Exactly.
Uh,
Late
you know,
season is late
yeah.
season is the best time to see those. Everything's beat down. You can see those
Yeah.
runways. There's been snow, or certainly if you got
Yeah.
snow, you know exactly where they're going. You can even see which
Exactly.
way they're predominantly coming from because the tracks are moving one way or the other.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. So that's what we're focusing on now. Stand maintenance. I've definitely been guilty of, oh well, this stand's been up for 4 years. It's good, no big deal. Well, the older I get, the more conscious I get of that. So we're checking stands. We're replacing bolts, we're replacing straps, we're doing the little things to ensure that those stands and us stay around for a while. Focusing on that and really just focusing on trails, opening them up and focusing on the food plots, just doing stuff now to help us out in the summer and help us out in the fall. That's what we're doing.
good information.
Yeah.
I don't know what I could add to it. You got a plan, and yes, you said you're going to be going up there. I guess you probably do a little shed hunting too.
Yeah. I figure we really didn't do any in January. We really didn't do any in January because A, with that much snow, and B, the majority of pictures I had, they were still holding. You'd have a couple come through with one off, but most of them were still holding. So when we go up in March, we'll do some shed hunting, see what's out there. I've never really dedicated much time to it. But now that we're going to be up there more, I can.
Yeah.
We're going to be switching all over the property, switching stands when we're coyote hunting. So it'll allow me the opportunity to actually do more of it. So
I have a question for you. During turkey season, have you ever found any mushrooms up there? And if so, where's your farm so I can go look?
Yeah. We have found mushrooms up there. Yeah, we have, but not a ton of them. But I've come home with, I think the most I've come home one day with is like 3. But that being said, this cabin that we've bought and have now, it's within 30 minutes we have access to, I don't know, 7,000 acres of public land.
Oh,
yeah. So that's one thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be walking the public land and looking for shrooms. So, cause they're delicious. And I love them.
There's
and
nothing better.
Yeah. It's just so fun getting out there looking for them. Cause you always have the damnedest time finding that first one. But after you find that first one, it kind of opens up. So,
it's
so
an
I'm
Easter egg hunt.
excited
It's an Easter egg hunt for adults.
Yeah, it is. It really is. So, yeah, I'm excited to check out some of these public grounds because they look extremely promising. We kind of drove by them, didn't do much scouting this past season, but we're going to this season because, like we talked about last year, I got 40 acres. I can't burn it out, So not only am I going to be up there to hunt my place, but I got to find other places so I don't burn it out.
Yeah,
that's what we're going to do. So
you're as far as Missouri goes, you're in the Mecca. Anything north of I-70, and certainly you're within maybe 60 miles of the Iowa border.
Not even.
Yeah. I was gonna say close.
Yep. Yeah. So it's we'll see what happens. I'm excited. I got a lot in my head now. I just need to put it all to play.
Well, yeah, a lot of stuff was fighting against you last year. The loggers didn't get out till late.
Yeah.
You had I think when you were finally trying to get in food plots, it dried off and just absolutely didn't rain at all.
Yeah.
And then about in the middle of all that, you had your cabin delivered up there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I could be wrong, but I think that probably took priority for several
weeks. It did. Yeah, it did. Last season, I sit here, I'm talking out of both sides, right? Because I'm sitting here saying, well, I didn't really see the bucks that I wanted to see, but you're right. My cabin was my priority. And to that point, I didn't hunt nearly as much as I wanted to last season because I needed to get it done. I needed it to be somewhat livable so we could at least go to the bathroom there. The first 3 weekends we stayed up there working on it, I had to go to the local Casey's to go to the bathroom. And you're talking to a guy with Crohn's disease who uses the bathroom like 5 times a day. So that was a mild inconvenience.
I think I told you, I know I told your wife this. I said, I'm kind of a minimalist. I said a 5-gallon bucket and a buddy heater and a sleeping bag, and I'd been good to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in my case, we'd have to get a lot of 5-gallon buckets.
Oh,
But yeah, I did. I had to focus on it, especially with it being delivered so late and the season coming up so quickly. I had no choice.
do you have running water now?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah. I can cook you a pizza in the oven, got running water, heat, all of it. Yeah. A shower, working shower. Yeah, it's fantastic.
good deal, man. That's a good deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thanks, buddy. I appreciate you being on here tonight.
It's always fun.
We're gonna get you back on several more. Like I said, we're kind of focusing on turkeys here, but you're gonna drop a couple birds this year, so we'll definitely have some stories there. You and I were talking about maybe getting together one weekend when we have a little time and see if we couldn't kill a turkey.
Yep.
Trying to do some bookkeeping here. I'm trying to think. This weekend is the NWTF, and Nathan Overberg's going to be down there with t-shirts and sweatshirts. So if you can look him up, don't forget to check out our Facebook page, and don't forget to check out or subscribe to our YouTube page, where it's Bustin' Beaks, Chasing Tails podcast. And right now we've got podcasts up there and a couple of small videos, but Nathan and I are working on doing some editing. I don't know what Brian and I have, but I know Nathan's got several hunts that he's going to put on there. So you can also see some of that. So Nick, I really appreciate it, buddy. Good luck this spring. We'll talk. We talk regularly. So, and you'll kill another giant. And hopefully Don comes back, and that's not just a booning. That's not just a Pope and Young. It's a booner.
Well, it's always a pleasure. I enjoy this. It's what I live for, so it's easy to talk about.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
You can tell you've got a passion for it, and I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Nick and I are going to go check out and see what the Blues are doing. So we appreciate you listening. Thanks a lot.